Shifting focus for now, in a dramatic escalation of rhetoric, in a way, a top Iranian Shiite cleric has issued a fatwa declaring US President Donald Trump and the Israeli Prime Minister enemies of God, calling for Muslims worldwide to unite against them. Iran's Grand Ayatollah, Naser Makarem Shirazi, has issued a religious decree or fatwa labeling Trump and Netanyahu as those who wage a war against God. What does that really mean? Now, according to Iranian law, being declared a Makarem carries punishments as severe as execution, amputation, or exile. The Ayatollah said any regime threatening Iran's leadership is an enemy of God. He said, and I'm quoting here, any cooperation or support for these enemies by Muslims or Islamic states is forbidden, quote unquote. And he urged Muslims globally to make these leaders regret their actions, promising religious rewards to those who act against them. The fatwa follows the 12-day war that erupted after Israel launched airstrikes, killing Iranian military commanders as well as nuclear scientists. And in retaliation, Iran fired ballistic missiles at Israeli cities. The fighting culminated when the US forces joined the Israeli attacks, targeting 3 Iranian nuclear facilities, prompting Iran to then bombard an American base in Qatar. This is not the first time Iranian clerics have issued such fatwas calling for violence, but analysts say that this new decree marks a dangerous new escalation. The ceasefire between Iran and Israel may be in place. The guns may have fallen silent in a way, but for now, tensions remain high, clearly, over Iran's nuclear program and US-Israel military coordination in the region. Iran's latest fatwa is part of a long history of religious decrees wielded as powerful political tools. Remember, a fatwa is a religious ruling under Islamic law issued by top clerics known as marja. In Shiite-majority Iran, fatwas can shape state policy, social behavior, even foreign policy narratives. Perhaps the most infamous fatwa came in 1989 when Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini issued a death sentence against the British Indian author Salman Rushdie for his novel. It was labeled blasphemous, and decades later, the author was attacked in the US in 2022, which left him blinded in one eye. In 2003, a fatwa was issued by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khomeini declaring nukes un-Islamic. And here we must make a distinction between the fatwas ordered by the Supreme Leader of Iran and the ones issued by top Iranian clerics. While the fatwa issued by the Supreme Leader, they are state-binding religious rulings. Grand Ayatollah or Marja fatwas carry immense religious authority but are not official government law unless adopted. Today's fatwa against Trump and Netanyahu is among the strongest calls for direct action, and according to analysts, such decrees heighten regional tensions as they carry immense religious legitimacy in the country and can also inspire proxy militias across West Asia to act. Our next story comes from India. It's about the death of an Indian actor and former reality TV personality, Shifali Jariala. Her death has left shockwaves across the country and beyond and has been dominating headlines in India. She died at her residence in Mumbai. She was only 42 years old. Her family and fans are waiting for the post-mortem report. So what really happened? How did she die? The cause of her death is not known yet, but media reports suggest a cardiac arrest. According to cardiologists, our bodies start giving out signals a month earlier. They advise consulting heart specialists if one is frequently feeling nauseatic, fatigued, and has constant headaches and feels numbness on one side of the body. There are also theories doing the rounds that anti-aging pills could be a reason behind Shifali Jariwala's fatal cardiac arrest. And according to Mumbai police, while searching the late actor's house, they found many anti-aging medicines, skin glow tablets and vitamin supplements. All eyes are now on what emerges next. Let's just tell you a bit more about Shifali Jariala. She first rose to fame in 2002 with her appearance in the music video Kanta Laga. She was only 20 years old at the time. And this performance of hers brought her widespread popularity. And over the years, she featured in various music videos, acted in a few film projects. She also participated in popular reality TV shows. Her stint in Big Boss 13 in 2019 brought her back into the spotlight in a way. Her sudden death has left her fans and colleagues in shock. US President Donald Trump and Zohran Mamdani, a Democratic socialist leading the race to be New York's next mayor, are locked in a fresh political controversy. The tussle seems to be only heating up with each passing day. Recently, Trump threatened to slash federal funding for New York City, saying if Mamdani, quote-unquote, fails to behave, should he win the November 4 mayoral election, Trump further called Mandani a pure communist candidate. He said that Mamdani's victory was inconceivable because of his very background. Not just that, Trump also said that Mamdani's victory could spell bad news for New York and the companies based out of it. Listen to this.
I had Texas Instruments come in the other day, big company, and he said, we're putting in $60 billion into new plants and new equipment, new everything. Sir, you're going to keep the tariffs, aren't you? Because whoever took the tariffs off, and we are going to absolutely keep it. And they're worried that somebody that, like this communist from New York, someday gets elected. I can't believe that's happening. That's a terrible thing for our country, by the way. He's a communist. We're going to go to a communistic state. That's so bad for New York. But the rest of the country is revolting against it.
And during an interview with Fox News, Trump insisted that Mamdani has to do the right thing or face the repercussions of funding drying up. Pushing back on Trump's remark, Mamdani outrightly denied the communist label given by the American president. And on talk shows, Mamdani reaffirmed his commitment to raise taxes on the wealthiest New Yorkers, asserting that he would absolutely maintain New York's status as a sanctuary city.
A question as to whether this city will simply become a museum of a place that once was, a museum of where working people could thrive. But what we have seen in the last 2 weeks is a hunger from New Yorkers to move beyond the days of museums and relics and make this city a living, breathing testament to what is possible.
Last week, the 33-year-old Indian origin assemblyman beat former Governor Andrew Cuomo in the New York primary last week, a victory that surprised many across the political ranks. Many New Yorkers also hailed his policies, spun around affordability, free daycare and lowered rents. And on winning, Mamdani could become New York's first Muslim and Indian American mayor. Needless to say, Mamdani's win did not go down well with Trump and other Republican leaders who even reportedly accused him of being a radical extremist. And earlier during his campaign, Mamdani was seen being openly vocal about rejecting Trump's policies and also vowed to make New York Trump-proof.
And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
From the looks of it, the tensions between the leaders is only surging, and according to the city's controller data, New York gets over $100 billion from the federal government through different entities and programs. And should Mamdani win and should Trump stick to that promise of funding slash, New York could be on the losing end, financially at least. And we will have to wait and watch to see what lies ahead. Will the Dalai Lama name his successor at the end of this week? Ahead of his 90th birthday, the Dalai Lama's followers and many people around the world wait for the spiritual leader to share details about his succession. A move that is widely expected to antagonize China. The Dalai Lama fled Tibet in 1959 after a failed uprising against Chinese rule, and since then he has lived in exile in India's Dharamshala. China considers him a separatist and insists that only it can choose his successor. However, the Dalai Lama has made it clear that his successor will be born outside China. In fact, he has urged his followers to reject anyone chosen by China. In Tibetan Buddhism, spiritual leaders are believed to be reborn after death. The current Dalai Lama, the 14th, was identified when he was just 2 years old. And now, as he turns 90, the Dalai Lama is reportedly consulting senior Buddhist monks and others to help identify where his next incarnation could appear. At a major 3-day gathering of Buddhist religious figures this week, in fact, on Monday, he addressed his followers and said that he would continue to serve others for the rest of his life.
The rest of my life I will dedicate for the benefit of others as much as possible, as extensive as possible. There will be some kind of a framework within which we can talk about the continuation of the institution of the Dalai Lamas.
The Dalai Lama has earlier suggested that his next birth could be in India. And these remarks challenge China's position that any reincarnation must take place within Chinese borders and follow Chinese laws, and that only Chinese leaders have the right to approve the Dalai Lama's successor. In March, a Chinese foreign ministry spokesperson said the Dalai Lama was a political exile with no right to represent the Tibetan people at all. Chinese officials refer to an 18th century imperial tradition from the Qing dynasty that gives them the right to approve reincarnations. Many Tibetans reportedly see this as a political move to control their fate and future.
While a Lama is still alive, there won't be any talk about his reincarnation. That talk only comes when that Lama passes away. But in this time, the discussion is coming mainly because the Chinese government is interfering in the reincarnation of His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. That's why the discussion is coming up regarding his reincarnation. Otherwise, there won't be any discussion as long as the Dalai Lama is still alive.
This week's religious meeting, the first since 2019, is expected to draw over 100 Tibetan Buddhist leaders. The Dalai Lama is also expected to attend a prayer event on July 5 and take part in his birthday celebration on July 6. Exiled Tibetans have mixed emotions as they prepare to mark the Dalai Lama's 90th birthday.
Grateful that I'm, having this opportunity to celebrate His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama in here, and also wishing and hoping that he would live a long life.
All the people of Tibet feel very anxious due to his old age, but as he have already turning 90 years old, so we are very feeling both auspicious and also very sad to celebrate His Holiness over there.
Officials from the Tibetan government in exile say they already have a process in place to continue political work if the Dalai Lama passes away. A foundation set up in 2015 by the Dalai Lama is expected to lead the search for his successor.
Worried about these procedures, but rather about what will happen in the future with the Tibetan causes. But yes, we are worried. The big storm is coming. But for that, we are not escaping from that. We have dealt for the centuries, and we will deal with that.
Back in 2011, the Dalai Lama stepped down from his political role and handed to an elected government, ending a 368-year-old tradition of being both spiritual and temporal head of Tibetans. The world now watches on to see if the Dalai Lama will reveal the next chapter of his legacy, one that could directly challenge China's authority and define Tibet's future. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.